Hey, what's up, TikTok? This is your guy Dev here, and today I'm going to teach you how to change a water pump on the 3.6 liter V6 from Dodge. This is in a Jeep Grand Cherokee, and so step by step I'm going to teach you how to do this and go from there. Okay, so step one, you are going to take off the engine cover that goes right here, and there's one bolt right here. It's a 10mm bolt or a T25, I believe, Torx bit that you can take off, either or. So you're going to take that for the cover, and then from the cover, after the cover, you are going to take off the intake hose. The intake hose is held on by two 8mm bolts. One sits right here on the throttle body, and one sits right here on the airbox. So after you take off the intake hose, you're going to be left with the front face of the engine. From the engine, you are going to remove the belts. The belt tensioner is going to be a 3/8 ratchet hole. So if you have one, I recommend using a long breaker ratchet. The longer, the better of torque you can get on it, and loosen that tensioner to take off the belt. After you take off the belt, you are going to be able to move and take off the hoses on the water pump itself. Typically, people use pliers to get these clips and loosen them to where you can maneuver them on the hose and go from there. Once you get those clips off, use the same set of pliers to gently grab the hose, because depending on how many miles are on your vehicle and how if your vehicle's been overheating or any other issues, that hose is going to be pretty much sealed on there. So if you use those pliers and slightly twist the hose, you can actually break that seal, and as you see right here, just for the inside of that hose being caked on there and heating up constantly, you can pull it off. I recommend getting a drain bucket and draining the coolant into that drain bucket. You can reuse it if you want to. 9 times out of 10, I do not recommend reusing old coolant, because you never know what could be contaminated in that coolant, and go from there. From there, I personally recommend taking off this, because this is going to allow this hose to maneuver. There's going to be a bracket for this thing right here. You can also take this off. You don't have to. A lot of people don't, but I do, just to have easier access to it. This is where the vacuum pump sits, and once you dismount the vacuum pump and everything else, which are held on by two other 10mm bolts that go right here and on the other side, you can dismount that and then disconnect it, and then freely move it about the cabin. Back to what I was saying, once you get that done, you are now faced and tasked with taking and removing the bolts. I still have one bolt here and 3 bolts right there. The bolts on the main housing itself are 10mm. So once you get those popped out, you can move over here. These are 2 13s and a 14. And once you get that out, you can remove the water pump. Also, don't forget that there is a belt tensioner pulley right here that you need to remove. That is a 13mm nut, or bolt, and you can take it out. And I lied, I'm sorry. That bolt right here is a 16mm bolt, not a 14. Disregard what I told you about that bolt. That is a 16mm socket. Use that, and you get that bolt off. Once everything is done, you should be able, depending on how caked and how many miles are on the water pump or the engine itself, you should be able to easily pull the water pump off. This one's not so easy, so I'm going to get a breaker wire and pull that off and go from there. And voila, once you get the water pump out, you inspect it, see where you're having your failing issues at. Sometimes it's going to be the pump itself. Other times it's going to be the gasket. As you see, the gasket down here is starting to lose a seal on the bottom portion of the pump. You can seal the buildup right there, and then go from there. And then after that, it's just reverse putting it back in. Get your new water pump. Install your hoses. Install your pulley, your belt, vacuum pump bracket, install your vacuum pump, install air intake hose, refill your coolant reservoir for your system with 2 gallons of coolant. Me personally, I like to mix it with 1 gallon of water and 1 gallon of coolant itself. So you get the 2 gallons together like that. Start your car and let idle for about 10-15 minutes so the system can heat up, and open the thermostat and allow coolant to flow through. Reinstall engine cover, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you change a water pump on a 3.6 V6 from Dodge.